Hi, I'm Rick Anthony, and welcome to the Someone You Should Know podcast, the podcast that focuses on musicians, authors, and interesting people. We like to say we're making a difference one artist at a time. So sit back, have a cold one, and get ready to meet someone you should know. On the podcast today, a great country singer from my old stomping grounds, St. Louis, Missouri. He's performed all over the United States and even the Virgin Islands. Got some great music to share. Will you please welcome my friend, Johnny Henry. How you been, Johnny?
Hey, good, Rick. How are you, buddy? It's
nice to reconnect with you. It's been a long time.
Absolutely. I'm reading on Facebook and socials. You're doing so well. So I'm happy to talk with you.
God bless you. Thank you, man. I thank you for saying that, man. I really do appreciate that. Good Lord has blessed me. I'm very, very lucky. Able to retire now and actually do this for fun. That's what this is all about. This is all. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for you guys. That's the main reason.
That's right. It's all for fun.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about your why. Why did you get into the music business as far as that goes? Was it something that happened as a child? Did you hear a specific style of music or something like that? It said, something, I think I'll be a musician.
When I was a really little kid, my parents were not musical. But they loved music. So There were records in the house. There was music playing all the time. My mom had a little stereo console. My mom and dad would listen to the radio in the car nonstop. So I was around music from a very young age. Fell in love actually with the Beatles, little Beatles 45s sitting around, and I'd have the little Fisher Price record player and sit in the basement and play the records to myself, and just fell in love with music. And then when I was about 10, I learned to play the drums, started taking drum lessons and learned to play the drums. And but it never was I was never in band. I was never in chorus. I never played outside of my house or my basement. And then when I was about 25 years old, I had a buddy get in touch with me, and he says, "Hey man, are you still playing drums?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, I play piano and keyboards, and what do you think? Why don't we just get together and jam?" So we spent some time jamming, and to make a really long story short, it went from two guys to let's get a lead guitar player to let's go play a party to, well, the party was fun. Well, let's go to a bar. And then we played at a bar, and then it kind of rolled, and a couple different musicians later, and started writing music. And what it ended up being was it was a career that chose me.
Okay.
I didn't choose it. I fell into it. It just kind of happened with the progression of writing songs and getting better and performing for more people and playing bigger venues. And, and here I am today. It's
what was the name of your
crazy?
Yeah. What was the name of your first band?
So first band was called Daisy Chain.
Daisy Chain.
And then Daisy Chain morphed into what Spur was. And Spur is what we ended up going. We were in Nashville for a long time and, did the whole, circuit. Right.
Now, you having been in St. Louis for over 20 years myself, and you being in St. Louis all your life, one thing St. Louisans always ask one another is, hey, what high school did you go to?
Melville High School.
Melville, down south, huh?
South County. Yeah, South County.
Oh, here you go.
So many I keep in touch with so many friends, and we play a club in off of Telegraph Road in Oakville called KT Saloon, and so many of our old high school friends come, and it's a lot of fun.
It's nice. I graduated in Northwest Indiana, I joined the military, and I bounced around for 20 years there, and then in radio for another 20 plus years. I'm finally back home after my wife passed away in 2018. I'm back here in my old stomping grounds, and running into my old friends is just absolutely fun. And a lot of these friends have formed bands, and having them on the podcast, so it's kind of nice to be able to do that and help out some old classmates of mine and have a little fun with this too.
That's so good to reconnect with those people, and then you're home. Like you feel like you're home.
Yeah, I do. I do. I mean, I'm used to the food. I'm used to. I know exactly where the streets that they're talking about, rather than, in St. Louis. You're on Choto, and there's no SHO. That's a
Yeah,
CH. You know.
yeah. And Gravois, and
Uh,
yeah,
well, I'm on 64. Where's 40 at? Or Farty
yeah,
at?
right.
I'm over here at the casino amphitheater here. It's what do you mean Riverport? What do you mean?
Yeah, Riverport. We still call it
I
Riverport.
know, I know. Everybody does. Everybody does. Yeah, that's like Sears Tower in Chicago. It's always going to be the Sears Tower, even though it's called the Willis Tower. Nobody calls it.
Yeah,
Nobody calls it the.
nobody calls it Willis.
Yeah, absolutely. Now here's a question after you. I don't know if you know about this about Johnny, folks, but Johnny is a stay-at-home dad. He's got four daughters, and it's kind of an unconventional way to do music and your career and everything like that. But how has being with your daughters and your lovely wife, you being the stay-at-home dad, how does that influence your music and your career?
You know, it's really kind of given me the opportunity to have a lot more freedom, believe it or not, with four daughters, because as they got older, when they were younger, it was more of a challenge because it was more hands on, day to day,
Right, yes.
taking care of the kids and lunch and off to school and things. And as they got older, they could fend for themselves a little bit. And my wife works a full-time job. And so me being able to stay home allowed me times to be creative and have some freedom. And then the kids were around and they would sing along and laugh and give me funny feedback. Dad, that didn't sound so good, or or Dad, I really like that song. Play it again or whatever. But uh, they were kind of my cheering section.
Your sounding board, yeah,
As
absolutely.
they grew up, yeah, sounding board, and it just I feel very fortunate to be able to have been in that situation where I could spend the time with my kids and not be outside at work. And so I had a lot more experiences with them, their sports, and was involved in their schoolwork and field trips and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
then it gave me lots of time for my music. I think I spent probably more time with my music than I would have been able to, going to work all day. And then I would want to spend time with my kids. And then I probably wouldn't hit, my music or be creative, till maybe late at night after the kids went to bed or something like that. So
Very good.
it just gave me more of a flexible schedule and allowed me to be creative when I needed to be creative, not when I was able to be creative.
Very good. Now, let's give a shout out to your daughters for being such great daughters. What are their names?
Jordan, Jenna, Jesse, and Jolene. We're all J's. Drives my wife crazy. Yeah,
Oh my
Jody,
God. Yeah.
her name, and she. Yeah, we had Jordan, our oldest. We loved that name, and then when the second one came along, we said, well, we should just name this one a J also, so she doesn't feel left out. And then, who knew we were going to have two more? And so, now it's
Yeah.
kind of a funny joke. It's like, way to
Wonderful.
go, Dad.
Wonderful.
Everybody's a J.
I was going to say, you've been at this for quite a while. How did you manage to balance the two as far as because being a parent is demanding alone, and working and being a parent is one thing, but you're also doing a lot of night stuff, which is the music industry and such like that. How did you balance the two?
Well, thank God for my wife, right? So she's amazing and wonderful. We've been together. We've been married now almost 34 years. And,
Jeez, that's wonderful.
and she is, she's just attentive and hardworking and great with the kids. And I can be a kid myself, of course, and so she takes care of me. And, it was a team effort, truly. I was able to be gone at night and play shows or go to the studio or go to a rehearsal or be out of town. I spent a lot of time in Nashville and was out of town, and she just didn't hesitate, didn't ever say that it was a burden on her, and allowed me the freedom to be able to do that. And bless her heart.
Very important. Very important. How about a shout out to your beautiful bride?
Absolutely. Love Jody.
Awesome. Very good. First song we are going to showcase is Old Fashioned Girl. What's the backstory on Old Fashioned Girl?
It was a song that I had gotten from my producer in Nashville, and we it told the story of how I felt at the time when I was doing the recording, and actually how I feel now, because I love how it relates to my own personal situation. And with Jody, she's a person that loves her family and loves her heritage and loves her ancestors, and it really encapsulated how I felt like she feels as a person. And we've been together so long, and I dearly love her. And
yeah, it's a love song to your wife. It's a beautiful song.
It is. Yeah. It is a love song to the wife. So we put the song together, the writers and I, and felt like it really came out well in the studio. In fact, it was my first single off of the EP that I had, and there's a video for it on YouTube, and it's got all the kids when they were younger, and the wife, and it kind of tells a story. A good friend of mine, Glenn Schweitzer, who's done album covers and videos for Tim McGraw and Rascal Flatts and Jason Aldean and many other people. He put this concept together of a video of how I was in Nashville and the family was still in St. Louis, and they would come drive to Nashville to visit me during the whole recording process. And it was kind of a get to know Johnny, but show how much we were a family unit.
Good. But what we'll do is we'll include the video down in the show notes. That way, if someone wants to check out the video, like I will, we'll go ahead and post that up there. Old Fashioned Girl is the name of the song from today's Someone You Should Know podcast guest, Johnny Henry.
She's an old-fashioned girl. She flies me away over that mountain, way up higher than I've ever been. She takes me down to the water in the river of love. Yeah, I'm jumping in. She's an old-fashioned girl, a little bit like Mama, a little bit like Minnie Pearl, in the middle of a new crazy world. She's an old-fashioned girl. Out the window, not in a rush, just taking her time. She ain't that worried when there ain't a lot of money. She knows we'll get by on just $1 or a dime. She's an old-fashioned girl, a little bit like Mama, a little bit like Minnie Pearl, in the middle of a new crazy world. She's an old-fashioned girl. Yeah, the way she looks always makes me smile, and the way she loves never goes out of style. When my soul flies away over that mountain, way up higher than I've ever been. I'll be looking around for my sweet angel and the old-fashioned dream I've been living in. She's an old-fashioned girl, a little bit like Mama, a little bit like Minnie Pearl, in the middle of a new crazy world. She's an old-fashioned girl, a little bit like Mama, a little bit like Minnie Pearl, in the middle of a new crazy world. She's an old-fashioned girl. She's an old-fashioned girl.
Old Fashioned Girl from today's Someone You Should Know podcast guest, Johnny Henry. More great music from Johnny in just a bit. But before we continue, I'd like to say thanks so much for tuning in to the Someone You Should Know podcast. You can find us on the web, someoneyoushouldknowpodcast.com. There you're going to find our recent news, our archive of more than 160 episodes. And we're adding every single week. So just be looking for that. If you've missed something along the way, by all means, check them out. You'll find them all right there. Also, if you're visiting, do us a favor and leave us a review. Let us know what you think, okay? Now, according to Buzzsprout, the service that shares us to our all the streaming platforms out there, geez, we're so blessed. Over 2,100 cities in 85 countries. Couple we'd like to announce today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Maple Grove, Minnesota, Imperial, Missouri, Seoul, South Korea, and Muskogee, Oklahoma. All the Okies and Muskogee. Yeah. So the Someone You Should Know podcast heard wherever quality streaming audio is available. Thanks for listening. We're talking to Johnny Henry. You've played from St. Louis to Maine to Florida to the West Coast to the Virgin Islands, the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville, diversity of crowds and such. How has that shaped your musical stage presence?
I feel like the different crowds have really opened my eyes to how diverse music is and how you have to connect with your crowd that's in front of you each and every night.
Yes.
The crowds really obviously can be very different. We just got back, in fact, a couple of weeks ago, we were played on St. John in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and
tough gig.
I'll tell you, in the middle of February,
in the St. Louis winter, yeah, it's a tough gig.
Middle of February, and when it's in the 20s or teens here, and it was 85 degrees there, and it was tough coming back. I can tell you, Rick, it was tough coming back.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
It's high season down there, and a lot of tourists. So you would think that they would want to hear a lot of island music and some reggae and stuff like that. And we throw some of that stuff into our mix. Mm-hmm. But believe it or not, what we found was that they want to hear stuff that they're familiar with, just because they're where they come from and they're on vacation. So, we've really learned to read a crowd. Mm-hmm. and if they're in the mood for some country music, we play country music. We take lots of requests from people, play a lot of cover songs, the things people are familiar with. And if they want to hear some classic rock, we whip out some classic rock and try to rock the house for them. And, it's just all about, there's one thing that's universal is everybody wants to just have a great time. They're there to be entertained, and they're there to, get away from daily life and cut loose a little bit. And that's what we're there to help provide.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, you've had the honor of opening for a lot of well-known acts like Rascal Flatts, Martina McBride, and to over 70,000 fans under the arch at Fair St. Louis with Trace Adkins. What have you learned from these folks, these legends in the music business, these touring legends? What have you learned from them as far as that goes? Anyone sit down with you and say, this is what you need to do?
I'll tell you what, the the precision and the professionalism is, to me, is what I've really taken out of so many acts that we've had the good fortune to share a stage with. They can be funny people, they can be goofy people, they can be fun loving and just all around good folks. But when they step on that stage, they are professionals and they are doing their job and they're entertaining the crowd and they're delivering their songs uh, like they're meant to deliver. They want people to know that they care about the fact that they're there to listen to them. They've paid, hard-earned money to come see them, and they step on that stage and they give them a show. And I'll tell you, that's the biggest thing I've taken out of it, the musicianship and how precise the musicians are and how well they play these songs. And I had a good fortune years ago to go on a little tour with Phil Vassar. We played a few dates with Phil Vassar, who's
Big guy,
a
real
great
good guy.
artist himself, and he's written so many hits for other people also. And during the time that we spent together, he was one that really said to me, just give the people what they want. Tell your story on stage, but make it fun, make it interesting for people, and just, if you're having a great time, then the crowd is going to have a great time.
Awesome. Very good. And you feed right off the crowd as well, too. I got to ask you, when you played at Fair St. Louis in front of 70,000 people, of course, that's 4th of July weekend. For those of you who don't know Fair St. Louis or outside of the region, it's right there on the Arch grounds. It's usually held like the Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the of 4th of July, or it's the couple days before and after 4th of July. And it's free concert. It's just on that sloped lawn. And I'll never
Mm-hmm.
forget, July in St. Louis is not cold in any way, shape, or form. It's usually around 100 degrees. I remember having to, I brought 38 Special on stage at Fair St. Louis, and it was 100 degrees, and Don Barnes almost collapsed. They took him backstage and threw a couple IVs in him, and just because, of course, 38 Special likes to wear their dark colors and maybe leather pants. So that's the way it would happen there. But how hot was it that day when you had your concert over there at Fair St. Louis? Do you remember?
It was in the 90s. It
Yeah,
was
muggy
pretty
and
warm, muggy. As you know, Rick, the humidity is bad in St. Louis, and
as we say,
so
it's air you can chew in St. Louis.
it
Yeah,
is it is there you can chew. That's for sure. Oh yeah, and
yeah,
yeah, we it was pretty warm.
yeah,
Luckily, it was late enough. The sun was starting to go down,
yeah. Count your blessings.
and it helped a little bit. But yeah, it was pretty toasty. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and working with Trace Adkins. One thing I asked him years and years ago, was there any specific traditions that he would do? He said, "Yeah, I'd have one last cigarette and one last cup of coffee before I go on stage." And I'm going, "Wow, can I imagine what that microphone smells like?" Good Lord,
Exactly right. Yeah.
so
What are
Peach.
you doing to me?
Yeah, that's a tall guy. He's what, 6'5", 6'4", something like that.
He's a very tall guy, and I'll tell you the funny the funny thing that happened after that is we got done with our set and walked off the stage, and we were standing on the side, and he was standing there kind of watching and hanging out, and I came down the steps of the stage, and he kind of walked up, and he looks up, he looks down at me, of course, because he's so big and tall, and Tracy's got that really low voice, and he says to me, he says, "You boys did a great job." And it was really funny, because he's a very imposing guy, right?
Now, he
So
looks like he should
tall.
be a wrestler.
He does look like it, yeah. But he was very kind and very nice, and we chatted for a minute, and just he gave us the time of day, which was, we always appreciate that
Yeah,
when people
absolutely.
are nice
Mhm.
folks. People you look up to are are genuinely nice people. So that's
It's nice when people can respect one another as far as their craft goes, regardless of what style of music you like, what style of music is being played. If you get something out of it, yeah, it's always nice to get that kind of vibe or give that kind of vibe as well too. Another song we're going to feature here is called "Goodbye Yesterday." Tell us about "Goodbye Yesterday."
It's kind of an ironic story, actually. It's a song that I wrote with my good buddy Rob Boyle, and I had the melody and the lyrics in my head, and Rob helped with a little bit of finishing of the lyrics and things. And but I had this story in my head, and it's ironic because my wife and I rarely, if ever, and knock on wood, have gotten into arguments and fights and major disagreements. We've always had a great line of communication, and when issues have come up, we've been able to just talk through them and work it out. And it's made our relationship and our marriage last for a long time. So what's funny about Goodbye Yesterday is it's a story about a couple that's fighting, and which, as I said, we rarely do. So, but I had this idea because I had heard some friends that were talking that were kind of going through a rough patch, and I wanted to write a song that was a message of, yes, we have these differences. Yes, we're disagreeing about this right now, but you know what? Let's move past it and let's agree to disagree, or let's move on and let's just look ahead to the future and be happy. And that was kind of the whole point of saying goodbye yesterday was, let's just forget about that. It's over with. It's done. If we're not going to agree, then let's just move on and, be happy. You can agree to disagree. That's important as far as that goes. I mean, that's one thing. There's no right or no wrong sometimes. And sometimes you just disagree. Absolutely.
Whatever. All right, here's Goodbye Yesterday from today's Someone You Should Know podcast guest, Johnny Henry.
Throw back the sheets, open the blinds to find a brand new morning. Try to shake the darkness from the night before. You and I had words again, and I went to sleep without a sorting out the resolution that we both were looking for. I touch your skin and wake you from dreaming, whisper in your ear, please run away. Stars turn blue. You and me, there's nothing more that we need to say. So goodbye yesterday. A few miles of silence, then I turned down that old country road. Park next to the meadow where we fell in love those years ago. I fumble for an awkward moment to find the words I should have told you. Then you put your hand up to my lips and say I know. You lean to me with a voice that's forgiving, whispered in my ear, please run away. Favorite
Great music right there. Goodbye Yesterday from today's podcast guest, Johnny Henry. Johnny, you've played the Bluebird Cafe. You've toured with Phil Vassar. You've been on stage with some big name acts. You've been all over the country. What would you consider your high water mark? This show, obviously, but what would you say is your high water mark?
Well, this show, Rick, this is a highlight today. Just talking to you, my good old friend.
Thanks, bud.
Definitely, definitely a high water mark.
Yeah, but what would you say is your high water mark?
I'll tell you, we the show Under the Arch, just for the sheer size and volume and promotional, ability that we were able to take from that and use from it, and the experience we gained from playing in front of that many people on stage was a high water mark.
Good. I figured as well.
I'll tell you, there's a band that I'm not sure if a lot of people are familiar with. They're still around, believe it or not, but they were popular 20 something years ago, their band called Emerson Drive.
Oh yeah, I remember them. Of course they had a couple of hits. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they have some great music. Anyways, those we were in Nashville all at the same time, and they're buddies of mine still, and we played a show together for one of the radio stations here in Missouri, and we were on stage playing, and Emerson Drive was not around the stage area at all yet. We were in the middle of our show, and as the time got closer and we started to finish our show, a couple of the guys, and the lead singer's name is Brad Mates, and Brad came up, and he came behind the stage, and I could see them, and we had been buddies for a little while in Nashville, so we were familiar with each other. And so when I got off the stage, Brad walks up to me and gives me a big hug, and he says, "Hey man, what are you guys doing?" He's like, "I didn't know you guys were playing this show with us." And I said, "Yeah, we were so excited to do this show and see you guys again and all this stuff." And he says, "We were up in the band house, and we were standing out on the balcony, and we could hear the band, and I heard your voice, and I turned over to Danik, his guitar player, Danik, and he says, 'I think that's Johnny.'" And I just felt at that moment, like that. It was like, this guy recognized my voice. Like, how weird is that? And that's just one of those moments in your life when you realize that you're making an impact.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Or you hear yourself on the radio was kind of a nice thing too.
Oh, that's
another moment. Now the next section is one of my favorites. It's called Tales from the Road. These are those infamous road stories where things didn't go quite as planned. You've been at this for a very, very long time, so I'm sure you might have one or two of those interesting tales from the roads. What do you think, Johnny?
Oh, I'll tell you, the worst thing that ever happened to me was we were playing at a show that a really cool venue in Columbia, Missouri called Nash Vegas. It's an old Tootsie's style honky tonk, little shotgun bar and a really tiny small stage, just like Tootsie's, and we love this place. We've been playing Nash Vegas for about 10 years now. Anyways, I was up on stage, and I always play a 12-string acoustic, like jumbo guitar, and I was switching guitars, and I put the thing up, and they have wall mount guitar hangers on the wall. And I put my guitar on the hanger, and I take my hand away, and the thing drops to the ground and breaks off on the bottom end butt of the guitar.
Oh, no.
Cracks a hole in the guitar.
Oh, jeez. Oh.
I was like, oh, no.
Were those things just for looks then?
No. You know what it ended up being? I think it actually was my fault, because I don't think I put it on the hook right. I
Uh,
think it was like an outfielder that doesn't watch the ball come in the whole
right.
way. I think I
Yeah,
just kind of
he's already making the throw without even catching the ball yet. Yeah.
absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely. I just put the guitar up, felt the hook, and then it probably wasn't really on the hook. So
Yeah.
that was just awful,
Yep.
But
I can imagine. I mean, because your instruments are part of you. I mean, each one's got their own
oh,
identity. Each one's got their own
for sure.
personality. And that one, did you get it repaired or what?
I did get it repaired. Yeah, it's band-aided back together a little bit, and it sounds okay,
Tongue
but
dress,
it doesn't
with
actually sound like it
with
used
tongue depressors and duct tape.
to. Yeah, duct tape. That'll fix it.
Well, good, good. Hey, Johnny, I know a lot of people want to know what's going on with you. What do you got planned for the remainder? You're doing a residency, aren't you, at one of the casinos or something?
We actually did a residency at on St. John in the
Okay,
Virgin
okay,
Islands.
okay. All right.
We just got back from that. Yeah, we have a bar. I'm going to give them a shout out too because
Please
we
do,
love them.
please do. Yeah, give them some
It's
love.
the Beach Bar on St. John in the U.S. Virgin Islands,
Okay.
and the owners are friends of ours now. We've been playing there since 2019, and it's just our home away from home.
Hmm.
It's paradise, and it's right on the water. The Caribbean Sea is right to our left,
Hmm.
and about 30 feet away, and
Yes.
it's just a beautiful setting. And the people that are there just are on vacation. They want to have a great time, and for us. It's just a very unique situation and a very unique place to play,
Hmm.
and we're blessed to be able to do something like that.
Very good. What you got planned for the rest of spring and summer?
A lot of traveling. We play at the Lake of the Ozarks here in Missouri quite often in the summer, and we have some stuff in Kansas City, and we're looking to play in the South a little bit. We're trying to get to Florida, and just a lot of St. Louis area shows. We
Okay, very good.
stick to home, and and love to play for the crowds that and friends that come see us here.
Okay, very good, very good. And if people want to find out where you're playing, your links to social media, what do you got? Will be the best way for people to find you?
The I'll tell you the best way is through the website
Okay,
johnnyhenry.com.
right.
There's a link to the live page, which is actually a calendar that shows all of the upcoming dates that we have.
Okay, very good, very good. So what I'll do is I'll put that in the show notes, and that way people can follow you and find out what's going on next. We're going to wrap up the show with "Waiting on the Rain." What's the story on "Waiting on the Rain"?
I wrote that song with my producer, Scotty Huff. Scotty was Keith Urban's band leader for many years in his touring band, and he also played horns in with the Mavericks, and Jake Owen toured with Jake Owen, so he's got a lot of experience in the industry, and he's actually a buddy of mine that I met through my co-writer Rob Boyle. And Scotty and I we had this idea together about I like positive messages, and I like um, coming through negative situations or bad situations in a positive way, and kind of uh, beating the adversity and beating
Right,
the odds. And
absolutely.
so Waiting on the Rain is kind of just the story. We wanted to tell a story about, when things are kind of going bad in your life, and you can always, you need to have this frame of mind that you're looking ahead, and you're looking at the glass half full and not half empty.
Right, exactly.
And
You got to have that positivity. Yes.
yeah, Waiting on the Rain just is, stop. The message is stop waiting on the rain.
Hmm.
Don't look for the negatives. Look for look at the silver lining.
All right, very good. We're going to wrap up the show with "Waiting on the Rain." Johnny, it's been a real treat to connect with you again. It's been a long, long time, And so glad to be able to get you on the show.
Thanks, Rick, for having me. I really appreciate it. And it's so nice to reconnect with you. And I'm happy for all your success too, buddy.
I never knew the difference back then, 'cause Daddy kept our circumstances between my mom and him. I never felt his dread when the bills arrived, 'cause he shouldered it and shot me a big old smile. He taught me that a dollar's there to spend. It won't do much good in heaven, sure won't get you in. You should set aside a few for a rainy day. Just don't waste your time and worry life away. Stop waiting on the rain to fall, quit counting on the creek to rise. No matter what the weatherman says, there's still a dawn when the sun don't shine. Just take each moment by the hand and live it the best you can. There's no point in bracing for the pain. Stop waiting on the rain. Was a week away from walking down the aisle, about to tell my baby maybe we should wait on this a while. My head was full of what ifs and concern, unsure of how the road ahead would turn. Well, once again my daddy set me straight. He told me there's no way of knowing what will come our way. You should keep in mind the danger when you swim, but at some point, boy, you gotta jump on in. Stop waiting on the rain to fall, quit counting on the creek to rise. No matter what the weatherman says, there's still a dawn when the sun don't shine. Just take each moment by the hand and live it the best you can. There's no point in bracing for the pain. Stop waiting on the rain. Yeah, that's exactly what you'll get. Stop waiting on the rain. You'll just wind up getting wet. Stop waiting on the rain. Yeah, there's a better way, a better day ahead. Stop waiting on the rain to fall, quit counting on the creek to rise. No matter what the weatherman says, there's still a dawn when the sun don't shine. Just take each moment by the hand and live it the best you can. There's no point in bracing for the pain. Life is short, so just enjoy the day. Stop waiting on the rain.
Hi, this is Rick Anthony, thanking you again for listening to this episode of Someone You Should Know. Now, if you're an aspiring musician or an established musician that's looking for a little exposure, I invite you to drop us a line at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. That's someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. Also, I invite you to tell a friend about the Someone You Should Know podcast. I thank you for tuning in this time, and I invite you to check us out next time on the Someone You Should Know podcast, because you never know who's going to show up. Until next time, remember, God loves you, and so do I.